What up, sports fans? Waxon Wednesday, Jake Waxman, Tyler, two guys talk sports. Let's go. All right. I mentioned in a previous video, in terms of Purdue football, that letting go of Graham Harrell needed to happen for Purdue football in order to make some kind of progress. I mean, Purdue football struggling big time this season. It's not been a great season, and there's no signs that it's going to get any better. And letting go of Graham Harrell was a good move. They brought in a guy by the name of Jason Simmons, who's done a lot of work in the high school football community, so he'll be the offensive coordinator. Now, this change needed to happen, and I've accepted that. But I also will say this: while changing offensive coordinators needed to happen, it does not excuse the fact that, or does not hide the fact that the problems with this football team, it goes right to the top, more than just with the coordinators. But a lot of what's going on with Purdue football, it also falls on the shoulders of Ryan Walters, the head coach for Purdue football. And let me explain why, okay? Right now, Purdue's offense is struggling. There's no identity there. The defense also has not been there either for Purdue. They've given up a lot of points, whether it's due to the fact that they're just way too tired by the time the offense finally gets going, or they can't make a tackle because coaching has not taught the proper techniques of tackling. It's a lot of different things. But I mean, Purdue's special teams has been very good. Purdue actually has the number one special teams unit in the nation, but that's not saying jack you know what, because the offense has been, both the offense and the defense have been difficult to watch. Hell, the team as a whole has been difficult to watch. And you know what? The blame falls on the shoulders of Ryan Walters. It may be just his second season at Purdue University as the football coach, but this team, in a lot of different ways, has regressed from last year. Last year it wasn't a good season. They won just 4 games, but they were also competitive in a lot of those games. This season, the games that Purdue has lost this year, they have not looked competitive at all. In fact, the team looks like it's taken, like I said, they've taken strides backwards. And I just gotta say this. Mike Bobinski, the athletic director at Purdue University, he's got a lot to think about this football season. The biggest thing he's going to have to think about is whether or not to let Ryan Walters walk after this season. Of course, it's not going to be easy, and it's going to be an expensive buyout. I think Purdue would owe Ryan Walters $9 million, from what I've heard, if they do decide to fire him after the season. So there's that obstacle. But I've heard that Purdue, like many other Big Ten schools, are going to be getting a lot of money from the contracting deals that the Big Ten signed with networks like NBC and ESPN, to name a few. But they're getting a lot of money from TV contracts and that stuff, and that could help Purdue buy out Ryan Walters' contract. I just gotta say, I like Ryan Walters. I think he's a good guy. But this sadly may be a case where Purdue the Boilermakers hired a guy who is just out of his depth or in over his head, or is taking on a job that he just wasn't ready for. I mean, this isn't like, some Division II school or FCS school or like a lower division like the MAC or that stuff. This is the Big Ten. This is Purdue. The thing with Purdue football is, if the program's gonna thrive, it needs an experienced head coach, someone who's led another program in the right direction, like Jeff Brom, for example. Like, before he was with Purdue, he was coaching at Western Kentucky, and he guided that program to great prosperity in their league. Or they actually did a lot better when he was guiding that program, and Purdue did a lot better over time because he had that experience and know-how. Walters is a young guy. He's in his late 30s, and this is really actually his first coaching job, sadly. And I think it was one that he just wasn't ready for. I like Ryan Walters. He seems like a good dude, but I think this is a case of a young man who was just not ready for this big of a responsibility, having to coach a Big Ten program like Purdue. And maybe someday he might become a very, very capable head coach. One, of course, I don't think it's going to be at Purdue, but elsewhere he could be like a MAC school or a Mountain West or some other FCS school. He could be a very successful coach still. He'll have a lot more of what he needs there, and he'll be in a lot more comfortable depth there, and maybe then he can move back on up to the big leagues. But just a lot for Mike Bobinski to think about, and like I said, to summarize it up, if Purdue continues to show signs of regression throughout the season, and they got a tough schedule. I don't expect Purdue to win a lot of games this year, not just because the team's not doing well, but they had a tough schedule coming into this season already. But if they continue to show signs of regression, even in those tough games, then sadly, it's and with the way NLI and college football is these days, chances are you're probably not going to be able to keep Ryan Walters around for more than 1 year. Now, if he does show some progress in these last few games and Purdue improves, then you keep him around 1 more year. But if things continue to get worse, then Bobinski is going to have to cut his losses and let Walters go after just 2 seasons. Of course, big question is that the contract buyout. Can Purdue afford it? I think they can, but I don't know for sure. Just because Purdue doesn't have the budget like some other big-name schools have in terms of athletics. Because Purdue, a lot of the money goes to the academics and that stuff, more so than it does sports. And while Purdue basketball has a lot of good, gets a lot of good money, especially in NLI money, the same can't be said for the football program. So there's some obstacles for sure. If Purdue wanted to let go of Ryan Walters after this season or even through the middle of the season, it's not gonna be cheap by any means the stretch. But sadly, it's an option that Mike Bobinski, the athletic director of Purdue University, is gonna have to weigh a lot on his mind, especially if the direction of this football team continues to get murkier. Again, and to close this subject off, I like Ryan Walters, and I feel bad for what he's going through, and I know he's trying his best, but sadly, based on what I've seen, he's just not, for now, as things stand, he is not the guy for Purdue football. All right, and speaking of head coach firings, okay then, so apparently Black Monday, sorry, not Black Monday, Black Tuesday of all days, came early for the NFL. So we have our first, we're only just 5 weeks in it, and now going into week 6, and we just had our first head coach firing of the season. The Jets parted ways with Robert Saleh. Okay, this caught me by a bit of surprise. I was not expecting this. The thing is, the Jets are 2-3 right now. They're still very much, it's still early in the season. They're still alive in the playoffs. They could turn some things around. 2-3 is not all that bad. And the fact also that this happened on a Tuesday, this firing is really strange. There are some things that just don't add up in my mindset, and maybe in the mindset of others. But from what I've heard, and get this, now, all of this could be hearsay or what. I don't know how much of it is true. I'm just telling you what I've heard, and you can decide whether or not you want to believe it for yourself. But supposedly, Robert Saleh was considering letting go of Nathaniel Hackett, who is the offensive coordinator for the New York Jets. He thought about firing him. Now, from what I understand, he actually chose not to, and instead decided to demote him or take play calling duties away from Nathaniel Hackett. So I guess they had they either had a meeting or they talked to each other or texted each other. I don't know the details. And then 5 minutes after he made the decision to take play calling duties away from Nathaniel Hackett, he got a call. I don't know if it was the owner or the general manager who called him, but he got a call into their office, and he was fired. They told him, hey, we're parting ways. And supposedly, I've also heard that Robert Saleh was escorted out by security and didn't even get to address the team. This is bizarre. Like, I don't know. Again, I don't know how much of this is true, but if what I've heard is true, this is, good Lord, this is bizarre. And man, the Jets are a toxic organization. And I do mean toxic. Like, let's be honest. Nathaniel Hackett, who's the offensive coordinator for the NFL, I don't know much about him, but I've seen him land at a couple different destinations, and everywhere he goes, the offense just has issues left and right. So this guy seems like a guy who shouldn't be a coordinator at the NFL level at the very least. And then I also start to, and I'm try not to go into conspiracy theorist mode. I know I can do better than this. But I also am starting to wonder if Aaron Rodgers had a hand in this himself. That's right, the quarterback for the Jets. And of course, Aaron Rodgers, he's no stranger to controversy, and no stranger to speaking his mind everywhere he goes. And whether it was with the Packers or the Jets, he's that dude that is not afraid to speak up what he believes. And I also wonder if he influenced the decision to fire Robert Saleh because he didn't like the head coach. This is, you know what? I feel so bad for New York Jet fans. This is a fan base that deserves so much better than this. There's a lot of hope going into this season, and they're 2-3 going into week 6. That's not all that bad. Still have a chance to make the playoffs. And now the Jet season may just be over. Now they got a distraction like this. Robert Saleh fired and under mysterious circumstances. And this is pretty early. Like, if the Jets were 0-5 and really struggling, then I could understand this. But I just don't know what else to think of this. And okay, Robert Saleh, he wasn't perfect. There were things he could have done better in New York, but you know what? He did not deserve this. He did not deserve to be fired this early. He was doing the best he could, given the situation. In my opinion, he was doing the best he can with the situation that he was given. He had to, and you have to, and working with Aaron Rodgers, it seems like quite an experience for a head coach. To the outspokenness and the fieriness, and just the demeanor of Aaron Rodgers. But hey, if I'm Robert Saleh, it's time to look on the bright side. You're free of the Jets now, and you're free to go and achieve great things in the NFL. He'll probably return to to a different team, maybe even the 49ers as a defensive coordinator. And I just wish Robert Saleh all the best. I hope wherever he goes next, he does well. And hopefully he does better than, honestly, the Jets, as long as they still got Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett around. Yeah, you guys probably can guess it. I don't have a positive opinion about either one. One of them, it's fitting. Nathaniel Hackett, he seems like a hack to me. And Rodgers, okay, you guys know this. I don't have a positive opinion about Aaron Rodgers. But honestly, it's also not Robert Saleh's fault that Aaron Rodgers has actually not been playing all that well as of late. And honestly, it's, in my opinion, Aaron Rodgers, it's time for you to hang up the helmet. You've had a legendary career, all right? I respect you as a football player, but you gotta stop causing problems within organizations. Come on, it's a football teams, all right? It's not just one person; it's everyone. And for those reasons, those things that I've stated, that's why I think it's time for Rodgers to hang up the helmet. So, goodness me. Like I said, I hope Robert Saleh, I hope wherever he goes next, he does well and continues to do well, because I feel so bad for him. He deserves better than the Jets. Jets fans deserve better. And to the New York Jets, get it together, for goodness sake. Come on, just clean up your act and get it together. That's all I got to say about this subject. Good Lord. All right, now we're going to moving on. So, NHL season just got started, and we're going to make some predictions. So, I'll start by saying this. I watched the Blackhawks and the Utah hockey team last night. Yeah, I did stay up to watch that game, and hard to watch. Utah absolutely kicked the Blackhawks' ass, and they deserve that win. And right now, they look like a pretty solid hockey team. We'll see how well they do this season, and as the season goes on and as it progresses, we'll see what more they accomplish. The Blackhawks, they did show some fight, and at one point it was a 3-2 game, but just came up short and just didn't have the firepower to match the energy of Utah. Got off to a rough start in that game, and that kind of set the tone for the night. Otherwise, but the Blackhawks did fight back, but just didn't have enough. So that's my thoughts on that game. Now, I'll start. All right, here's what I think is going to happen in this regular season. I'm going to start with the Eastern Conference. Atlantic Division. Coming out of this division, top three will be... I'm going to go with Florida, Boston, and Toronto as the top three. And then the Metropolitan Division. I'll go with the Rangers, the Islanders, so New York Rangers, New York Islanders, and the New Jersey Devils as the top three. With the wild cards being the Red Wings and the Flyers. I'm going to make a bold prediction, and I predict that the Carolina Hurricanes will miss the playoffs this year. I mean, cap hell is coming for the Hurricanes. And that's the big reason, and I think it's going to start earlier than usual for Carolina, which is why I think they're going to miss the postseason. They'll be close and they'll be in the mix, but I think they're going to come up just short. All right, Western Conference. Central Division. I'm going to go with Avalanche, Stars, and the Jets as the top three. And then Pacific, Oilers, Golden Knights, and I'm going to roll with Canucks. That's right. Edmonton Oilers, Vegas Golden Knights, and the Vancouver Canucks as the top three there. In the Central Division, I got the Colorado Avalanche, Dallas Stars, and the Winnipeg Jets as the top three there. And then the wild cards, I'm going to make the bold prediction that they are all going to come from the Central Division. I think the Predators, they were the off-season champions, spent a lot of money and got a lot of talent, including Steven Stamkos. I think that they'll make it as a wild card, and the final wild card will also be from the Central. I'll go with the Hockey Club of Utah. So, all right, that's my predictions for the NHL regular season. Let me know in the comments what you think. Who do you think is going to surprise, and who do you think is going to go to the playoffs? And on one final note, the Predators, I think they'll be a good team, but I got a feeling they're not going to be as good as people are picking them to be, which is why I've got them as a wild card and maybe not as one of the top three in the Central Division. And that's a tough division, too. All right, on to this day in sports history. And on this day, the 9th of October, not 2024, but rather 1921, the great one, Babe Ruth, hits his first World Series home run. Only Sunday game ever pitched by Carl Mays. All right, sports fans, before I sign off, to those in Florida who are either fleeing or staying put, those in Florida who are in the path of Hurricane Milton, I'm thinking about you, praying for you, and wishing you all the best. These are tough times we're living in. We just had one hurricane go through a lot of states in the United States, and wishing all the best for Florida. For the state of Florida, the people of Florida, thinking of all of you. And praying for you. So, to sports fans, I just ask that you keep the people of Florida, as well as those in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee, all the other states affected by the previous hurricane. I just ask that you all all you sports fans keep all these people in your thoughts and prayers, please. All right, sports fans, that is all I got for this week's Waxon Wednesday. Thanks for watching. Jake Waxman from Two Guys Talk Sports signing off.